what? Oh, did she? Oh, wow.
God, she's a freaking puppy. And, sorry.
Thank you.
And, I think they moved it on.
As soon as that clock turns 7, we'll start.
And went to- I had that little guy.
Oh, we do too. We do too. It's good though, yeah.
Sometimes I go, I'm thinking something.
So what grade are they in? They're in fourth and
He's in
first, yeah.
She does employee relationships and stuff.
Yes. He's much more quiet.
Terminated down here.
So I'm thinking the taxation of all this mobility is going to be coming.
Did they tell you?
No?
So how do you know? Can't you just go show up for work?
Oh, he refused to let me go back.
Steve was saying that the kids just get along so well. It was those.
That's why I never
I
went
can't think of the other people. Oh, it was, Greg
back.
Lawrence.
So it's
You know Greg?
back and hurt yourself.
He's a lawyer at their firm with,
I'm sorry?
he's, no.
I got a parking ticket and I paid.
Kyle, yeah, Kyle.
Next meeting, just to tell him how I feel, but the place is just getting crazy.
He was already from.
Bullshit, the letter they posted, failure to act on.
He was 36.
Oh, I see. But he,
Got it. Thank
He
you.
was, I think he was a year older than Derek.
was 1980.
1980.
Derek was my license jubilee.
He was born in 1980.
I know those heels anywhere.
Yeah, and Derek and
Yeah.
Kyle.
I saw Ethel today.
Love that.
Yeah, I started walking around the mall.
Oh, good, yeah, she's doing good.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, she's fast. I don't think she's gonna live in New York.
We ready to go?
One of the greatest things was, is Shannon coming today? One of the greatest things, the basketball championship, that was awesome.
Oh, wasn't it great?
God, we went everywhere,
Call the regular meeting of the Municipal Council for Tuesday, September 6, 2016 to order. I'd ask you to please stand and join in the salute to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. If you have a cell phone or similar electronic device, if you would kindly turn it off or turn it down. And it doesn't interfere with our broadcast to other parts of the community. I appreciate it. Thank you. I do want to welcome each of you back from our time away from each other during the summer as we're doing our summer schedule. I hope you all had a good summer. Thank you people out there watching. Let's see, at this time, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting of December 15th, 2015.
Second.
Thank you. Any concerns? Motions are in order. Any concerns or comments? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting of December 22nd, 2015.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's in order. Are there any concerns or comments? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting of March 1st, 2016.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's in order. Any concerns or comments? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting of April 5th, 2016.
Second.
Thank you. The motion's in order. Any concerns or comments? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting of April 19th, 2016.
Second.
Thank you. The motion's in order. Any concerns or comments? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting of May 3rd, 2016.
Second.
Thank you. The motion's in order. Any concerns or comments? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting of May 17th, 2016.
Second.
Thank you. The motion's in order. Any concerns or comments? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. And finally, I entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting of May 31st, 2016.
Second.
Thank you. The motion is in order. Any concerns or comments? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The motion passes. Thank you very much. The goal is to get all caught up on those in the next couple of meetings, so I appreciate your diligence in that. Terry, I would, at this time, I would ask Mr. Withers to read the notice for the one public hearing scheduled for this evening.
Public hearing relative to the following. Delete existing section 9-47.2 under section 9-47 motor vehicle dealers of the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro and insert new section 9-47.2 as follows. Section 9-47.2. Completed renewal applications for licenses issued under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 140, Sections 57 to 59, for Class 1, 2, and Class 3s, must be received by the Office of the City Clerk on or before the first Friday in November. In order to be processed, the renewal application must be submitted in its entirety, including a check or money order for the applicable license renewal fee. If a renewal application does not meet the conditions hereunder, the existing license shall expire on January 1st in accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 14, Section 59. The license renewal fee for an application received after the first Friday in November shall be tripled. Payments of such triple fee shall not relieve any person from fully complying with the requirements of the above-mentioned Massachusetts General Laws and the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro. And this was originally from the docket of December 22nd, 2015.
Thank you. So on this public hearing, we'll first ask those who are in favor to speak, then those who are in opposition to speak, and then those who are neither for nor against, but have information or may have information that would be helpful to the council in rendering a decision. We would ask that when you come to the podium and then you give us your name and address for the record. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of this proposed ordinance? Anyone to speak in favor? Anyone to speak in favor? Is there anyone here to speak in opposition? Anyone here to speak in opposition? Lastly, is there anyone here to speak neither for nor against? Is there anyone here to speak neither for nor against? Okay. Hearing none, I just want to state that the purpose of the public hearing tonight required whenever we have an ordinance change to have a public hearing on the matter. And I know that people who were affected by this a year ago were notified. And that's why there was a mailing that was sent out to people. Okay? So, seeing that no one has come to speak before us on this particular issue, is there anyone here to have anything to say on this issue, neither for nor against? Anyone, neither for nor against? Hearing none. Let's see, Mr. Delicio, do you need to continue this public hearing?
I don't.
Okay, thank you. All right. I'm going to declare that public hearing closed. And we're going to go on to a reading of the mayor's communication.
September 6, 2016, dear municipal councilors, for your information, I regret to inform your honorable body we have received the resignation of Benjamin Dowling from the planning board. I know you will join me in thanking Mr. Dowling for his service to the city. Copies in your packets. I respectfully submit for confirmation by your honorable body the appointment of Scott G. Jones, 65 Oak Hill Ave, to fill the unexpired term on the planning board. Term to expire February 2017. Copies in your packets.
Personnel and Human Services Committee, please.
For your information, I regret to inform your honorable body we received the resignation of Susie Bordeaux from the Conservation Commission. I know you will join me in thanking Ms. Bordeaux for her service to the city. Copies in your packets. I respectfully submit a communication from Legal Secretary Allison Wood regarding surplus items that the Attleboro Public Schools would like to declare surplus, and hereby respectfully request your honorable body to declare the following as surplus and available for disposition. Copies in your packets.
I'm going to waive the reading of all of those items
Yeah.
as we're covering in the committee.
So I'm just going to, you want me just to
Please summarize.
section? Okay, so there's several copiers from the graphics art department. There's assorted cameras and printers. There's also a Market Forged convection oven. There is multiple assorted exercise equipment. And there's 3 pieces of playground equipment, 1 straight monkey bar, 2 overlapping monkey bars, and 1 climbing apparatus with enclosed slide.
City Department Claims Committee, please.
I respectfully submit a communication from Superintendent of Wastewater Paul Kennedy requesting funds for soil removal and disposal at the old wastewater treatment plant. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body to transfer $35,000 from account Wastewater Enterprise Fund, Reserve Fund for Transfer, to account Wastewater Enterprise Fund, Professional Services. Copies in your packets.
Public Works Committee, please.
I respectfully submit a communication from Acting Superintendent of Water Paul Kennedy requesting funds to pay for an employee's Grade 4 exam and Grade 4 license reimbursement from fiscal year 2016. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body transfer $214 from account Water Enterprise Fund Special Licenses to account Water Enterprise Fund Bills from previous years. Copies in your packets.
Public Works Committee, please.
As you are aware, on August 18, 2016, Council Vote Number 12, your honorable body approved the appropriation of $47,865 for permanent street repairs, with $40,345 going to account Public Works Street Maintenance Supplies. I respectfully submit a communication from Superintendent Lance Hill requesting a transfer of $38,936 that is needed for contractual services to be provided to the city to complete this work. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body to transfer $38,936 from account Public Works Street Maintenance Supplies to account Public Works Maintenance of Streets. Copies in your packets.
Public Works Committee, please.
As you are aware, there were reductions made in the fiscal year 2017 general government budget that unfortunately have caused consequences that needed to be addressed. Specifically, the Municipal Council voted to reduce account education salaries for crossing guards by $60,866.17. I am hereby requesting your honorable body to approve a supplemental appropriation in the amount of $60,866.17 to account education salaries for the crossing guards.
Budget and Appropriations Committee, please.
Sincerely, Kevin J. Dumas, Mayor.
Thank you. Any other communications, please?
There are two others, Mr. President. The first one is a 2016 renewal, keeping a stand in a public place license application dated July 18th, 2016, from Carlos M. Silva for Sangria's 59 Park Street, Attleboro, Mass. 02703, for 3 tables Monday to Sunday, 12 noon until 1 a.m.
License Committee, please.
And the second one is a petition for grant of location for new utility pole dated August 22nd, 2016, from Molalite LLC, 925B, Peachtree Street Northeast, Suite 710, Atlanta, Georgia, 30309. The petitioner proposes to install backhaul transport equipment on a proposed utility pole in the right-of-way located east of the intersection of Pleasant Street and Perry Avenue, with electricity connection, latitude/longitude 41.951512-71.27195.
Public Works Committee, please. And Councilor Jackson, this matter requires a public hearing. It's a public hearing on Tuesday, October the 4th. And the reason October 4th is there has to be some notification to abutters, and we want to make sure we have adequate time to do that.
I think that's a great idea. Let's have that public hearing, October 4th.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Motion in order. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. The public hearing will be on October the 4th.
And that ends the other communications.
Okay, very good. Thank you. This time I'd entertain a motion on the committee of the whole.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's in order. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We're now on the committee of the whole. If there is anyone with business to bring to the attention of the city council, now would be the appropriate time. You just have your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, my name is Mike Crowley, 20 Beagle Club Road, Attleboro, Mass.
Good evening.
Good evening. Do I have the floor?
Yes, you do.
I've obviously been here a few times, had a chance to speak in front of this body on several occasions this summer. And there were some things that I thought were highly important to address that happened over the course of the past week and months that require attention. So before I delve into those issues of the past week, I want to first turn to the top priority facing the city, which and I think safe to say thousands of people clearly believe is the issue of our time, and it will determine the future of our city, which is our education system.
And in correlation to that, the obligation we face to give our children and all future generations of kids that go through Attleboro an education that's worthy for them to compete in the 21st century. But as we meet today, we are now seeing probably the full brunt of what many of us believe is a very short-sighted educational strategy presented by the mayor from just 2 months ago. We have seen and heard classrooms in excess of 35 kids, and in some cases up to 40 at the high school with a single teacher. Parking lots jammed with cars from parents who can't afford new bus fees. News, anecdotally, of teachers in middle school, at the middle school and elementary schools scrambling to find chairs and tables for kids in their classrooms because they don't have any place to sit. That's a tough one. Our educators, their ranks depleted far beyond anything that should be minimally acceptable, remain true to their reputation as some of the most dedicated professionals that any city could hope for. They are amazing in their devotion to our children's and our city's success. But we are hearing far too many reports of teacher morale hitting rock bottom, absolute rock bottom, due to the abysmal, chronic underfunding, and we are only 2 days into the school year. 2 days and we're hearing it. And yet over the past 2 months, our mayor, when he could have been demonstrating even the most basic tenets of leadership by exploring every possible option to reverse this issue and avoid an even worse crisis 9 months from now, because we all know what's coming next year, has instead chosen to spend the past 2 months trying to restore funds for cell phones at City Hall and to restore his coveted office assistant's position, which he calls constituent services. That's where he decided to put his focus over 2 months, despite the fact we just laid off 35 teachers. It's a position he has publicly tried to convince us that he and the city can't possibly operate without, even though the city operated without it through prosperity and crisis over the previous 100 years. It's almost incomprehensible to reconcile the disconnect between an elected official and the people he is supposed to lead, when we could have spent the past 2 months continuing to explore every option available to address the real crisis. And there are options available that we're going to go through, and we've been reduced to this. But this past week, believe it or not, it got worse. And in my opinion, it got much worse. We crossed a Rubicon that now takes us beyond frustration of many people in poor strategy. That's something that approaches a disqualifying event. The use of our children's safety as a pawn for the mayor to advance his own agenda. Let's review the facts that show a pattern leading up to this disturbing culmination of this past week. Let's go back to May 3rd. If you remember this is
Before you continue, I am not going to be entertaining, allowing you to make any comments relative to the crossing guard situation, because that matter has been resolved. I believe everybody sitting in this council, probably everybody who's been paying any attention in the city is well aware of it. The issue has been resolved. We are not going to talk about it this evening.
We're going to talk about the school system this evening.
We are not going to talk about the school crossing guards.
We're going to talk about the school system this evening.
Fine, but as I said, if you start talking about crossing guards, I will remind you that we are not talking about it.
It was my understanding that when residents come before this council, that it's your job to hear what residents have to say
That's true.
and to listen.
However, there are also certain rules that those who come before us have to follow. And I'm not going to go back on a matter that has already been resolved before the city. I do have a certain amount of latitude in running the committee of the whole, in the position that I set.
This goes beyond the crossing guard situation. This is a far more serious thing that we're going to talk about.
I understand
This is
that.
going to, what we're going to talk about tonight is what was done in the past few days by this administration that I think is far more serious.
Fine. But as I
It
said,
will include talking about what happened with the crossing guards, but it goes
I will
beyond
cut
that.
you off at that
Now, if you
point,
don't want to listen to
No, that's
that,
not the point. The point I'm making to you, sir, is that when we get to if you are going to bring up the crossing guards, I will ask you politely, as I already have, to refrain from making such comments. That issue has been resolved. We are all familiar with the issue that how we got to this point. We talked about this at a meeting in August, which I think you were in attendance at, and I'm not going to get on that path again. So at that point,
May I continue?
if you want to talk about the other situations, that is fine.
we are going to talk about it.
That's fine. But I'm not going to entertain any comments relative to the school guards on this matter, because that matter has been taken care
And I
of.
will delicately dance around it as we get into the other
Fine.
issues of the evening. Is that fair?
That is fair.
I'll continue.
Just be mindful that I have put you on notice that any talking relative to the school
I
guards.
will delicately dance around it
Fine.
because it is pertinent to what we're talking about. Fair?
As I said, I'm not going to be entertaining any comments about the crossing
I will
guards.
continue then. On May 3rd, the Sun Chronicle publishes an article. This is 2 weeks after we used a fairly involved conversation between all of us about what was important for the school. This is 2 weeks. Articles published, cascading Attleboro budget shortfalls to mean fewer cops on the street. When the final budget is presented eventually, I'm not aware of any cuts were made to that. But it created hysteria. On May 4th, Sun Chronicle published another article, Attleboro Fire Department to face cuts too. I'm not aware of any budget cuts that were made when the final budget was proposed. Pattern of creating hysteria. On June 21st, the council finally receives the annual budget from the mayor, marking the latest date in the past 20 years that the budget has been submitted for review. We had 2 days to review. And I remember very clearly, because I was sitting right here behind the mayor when he was discussing, and he was asked a question a couple weeks prior to that, when he was asked, why is it that his beginning budgets every year seem to be $2 million more at the end of the year? And where does that money come from? And what he did, essentially, is he threw you all under the bus. He said, well, you approve it. You approve it, so therefore it's good. So he challenged you to make cuts and to ask tough questions, which I commend you for doing. Because on that night, on June 23rd, the council voted 9-2 to cut a certain budget. And they also cut the constituent services budget, among others, totaling about $260,000. You did your job, and I commend you for it. That's what you should do. That's what he challenged you to do. On June 28th, an emergency council meeting is called by the mayor regarding the elimination of the constituent services position. A 3-page written summary is submitted by the mayor in an attempt to justify why the city will suffer irreparably without this position. Again, we just cut 35 teachers 5 days before, and this is what the focus went to. On or around July 19th, Councilor Julie Hall submits what I thought was about a 15-page slide deck supporting the reinstatement of Scott Folan. On July 20th, the Sun Chronicle publishes yet another article incorrectly reporting that there would be a certain number of positions in this city cut, even though there were funds available to start all of those positions at the start of the year, on a cut that shall be named later. On August 18th, Councilor Blair cryptically announces at the end of a council meeting that the council will need
Point
to
of
address
order.
Scott
Yeah,
Folan
Councilor
issue
Blair.
at this next scheduled
Point
meeting.
of order. When a gentleman, and I use that term loosely, sits at that podium, he's being informed not to direct his comments,
Right.
questions to any one of us directly,
So you take offense at that.
and I take offense.
I'm just stating the facts. These are facts, all on record. Somebody can go check them if they want.
Any comments should be directed, as a reminder of what the rules of procedure call for. Any comments are to be directed to the council as a collective body.
I was reading straight from my...
Understand that. Thank you.
Continuing on September 1st, Councilor Hagney and Councilor Delicio submit 2 and only 2 motions for new business to restore funding previously cut. One motion for an issue that will be discussed later, one to reinstate Scott Folan, the constituent services position. On September 1st, school begins with 8 fewer crossing guards, 8 fewer positions. Despite the funding available to have them on staff, some of these positions chosen include the busiest streets in the city. On September 2nd, Mayor Dumas announces via the Sun Chronicle that the issue has been taken off the table only after a huge social media firestorm. The reason I bring this up is not because the issue has been resolved, is because it's that what we saw last week goes beyond what is acceptable leadership. You cannot do that. The facts are disturbing at the least, and they bring to light 2 critical elements: that this was both premeditated and deliberate. It was done over many weeks. It was not a decision that was made on a single day. And that's a very serious thing. To lever that kind of thing, the safety of children, to advance a different agenda. Second point is that it also required help. It required the help of others to actually get it to the floor, and that's even more disturbing. It's not leadership. It's not what's supposed to happen in a democracy. These are more typical of things that happen in third world countries, not in Attleboro, not in the U.S. To me, it's a disqualifying set of circumstances, and it leaves the city in a leadership vacuum. In late April, when I first addressed the council, I communicated that we were voicing a vote of no confidence due to the almost antagonizing stance the mayor showed annually towards funding our school system. Today, that vote of no confidence has fallen precipitously low, as now others have chosen to follow him blindly down that same path. And the actions of the past week mark a tipping point of insufficient credibility necessary for anyone to govern effectively. So, what can the remaining 7 councilors do moving forward? And how can we refocus and double our efforts?
Your comments should be directed to the council as a collective body. You are not to be singling them out like that.
So what can the rest of the council
Thank
do
you.
for the remaining period? What can you do to remind your constituents that we still have a rational body capable of leading us for the next 14 months? And I want to revisit 8 specific points that have been presented to the mayor through public presentations, email, and in person, including me in person. Many of you have seen this. Most of the points, which constitute at least $500,000 in funding for the schools this year and beyond, and upwards of over $1 million if implemented properly and with leadership. And I want to review these with you tonight because we are out of time as I started this conversation. Our teachers are hurting. We already couldn't hire back over half the teachers that were let go because they have already moved on, and we're going to see more of it. It's just the tip of the iceberg of the damage that's been done. So let's review what can be done and what I'm going to ask the council. 1, reserve any additional funding. Well, I'm going to skip 1 because of how we started this conversation tonight. Let's go to point number 2, and I'll strike this from the record as I submit it. Number 2, do not restore the $50,000 to the constituent services budget if it comes back to this council, and immediately reallocate those funds that were cut to the school system. It saves a teacher. Maybe it saves 5 teachers' aides, but it is money that should be reallocated. Number 2, commit to reallocating an additional $50,000 in the cuts you made on June 23rd. Find $100,000 out of those cuts. Number 3, bring a motion this month to the council that abates the school's water and wastewater bills for 2 years as soon as the Water and Wastewater Enterprise Fund retained earnings are certified. I'd like to see this done before the certification occurs. This is something that when we talked to the mayor personally, he told us how wrong we were, even though at the time we knew we were right. And I commend one of the councilors, I don't know if I can do that, for helping us prove from the state directly, third party, that the city can abate. The water wastewater is not a separate entity. It's an accounting entity. And the state affirmed that. And while it's not a best practice, it can be done. It is low-hanging fruit. It's $200,000 a year. It is something that should be dedicated and allocated to the schools. That's 10 teachers' aides, at least. It's 4 teachers. Let's bring some relief. Let's freeze any unnecessary capital project requests that are not school-related. Let's bring a motion immediately to the floor that commits 50% of any funds collected in excess of original revenue budgets for the next 3 years. Now, this pertains to what we just saw a month ago, where there's, what, $450,000 in excess revenue over budget that came in on the permits and licenses budget, I believe. 50% of that should go to the schools. It should not go into a special slush fund that the mayor can use at his own discretion. Let's get a motion to the floor to accept that. And finally, with respect to Sturdy, we sat in the mayor's office and made a proposal with 4 people sitting at the table who have an enormous amount of experience in presenting deals like this. And it was a win-win-win for the city, for Sturdy, and for the schools to get them more actively involved financially to help the city. It was a business transaction. It wasn't even a tax. It was something that was so simple we would do all the work. All of the work. All that we asked for was that when he got the call from Sturdy, when we contacted him, that he would say, I want you to listen to it. That's it. And since that time, we have had zero response from the mayor in pursuing that strategy. We think it could be worth at least $500,000 a year, if done properly, win-win-win. What we're asking is that you ask the mayor to support those efforts if he's not willing to do it himself. It is time for us to re-examine how our relationship with the nonprofits work in the city, and particularly with Sturdy, when they are sitting on $300 million of cash and investments. I recognize that this list does not constitute an exhaustive representation of all of our options, but it is a meaningful and material start to restore credibility and funding to those who need it, namely our kids and their educators. We cannot forget about that issue being the number one thing that we're facing. We cannot. We cannot just go into business as usual. We've got another year coming around the corner where it's going to be worse. And I conclude with one of the most basic requests of a citizen to all of you. Lead us. Lead us. Show us the full potential of our local system of government. We're here to support you. In fact, we look for the day when we can find that solution that does not require us to cut or gut any other departments, but to reallocate and to find new sources of revenue so that we can do what is right for the city and our kids. It's going to be a celebration worth having, but we have got to stop what just happened last week. Completely unacceptable. That's all I have. I'll conclude my comments. I thank you again for your time and attention. I hope that we can find these solutions for our schools, and I hope we don't forget what that priority is moving forward. Thank you again.
If you can give that, since you had a written statement, if you can give that to our Administrative Assistant, Mr. Owens. we can have
As
him-
is, or do you want it to be amended for your
No,
comments
it's
earlier?
presented.
I'm sorry?
As presented.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who can speak to the council on a city matter? Is there anyone else here that has an item to bring to the attention of the city council? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to arise.
Second.
Motion's in order. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Back to the agenda. Next item on our agenda are the committee reports. Anybody need a recess or anything? We're going to do it. Okay, I know there's only one committee that actually has business, but I'll go around for every meeting anyways. So if you can call for the meeting. So, committee reports. Councilor Delizio.
Thank you. Reporting for ordinances, elections, legislative matters. I have no business, but would like to call for a committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you. Councilor Hall.
And for,
Zoning.
thank you, zoning and land use, Committee on Zoning Use, Land Use, I do not have any business tonight, but I would also like to call for a meeting at the appropriate time.
Councilor Conti.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Here we go.
Reporting for the Capital Improvement and City Development Committee, we have no business to bring before the council this evening. However, we look forward to a meeting at the next appropriate time.
Councilor Perica.
Thank you, President Cook. Reporting for traffic and transportation, I have no business this evening, and request a committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you. Vice President Denley.
Thank you, President Cook.
You're welcome.
Reporting for the Committee on Licenses, I have no business tonight. However, I'd like to call for a committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Councilor Higley.
Thank you. Reporting for budget and appropriations. No business this evening, and call for committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you. Councilor Reynolds.
Reporting for the Committee on City Property and Claims. I have no business this evening, but would like to call a committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Councilor Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. President. I do have one item on the docket, from the docket of August 18th, 2016. I move to approve the mayor's request for a supplemental appropriation of $199.60 to account 161-01000-532-010 Public Library Tuition and Books. to pay for tuition and books for a library employee that has been approved to take courses for fall of 2016 semester and who was eligible for reimbursement according to the contract agreement.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. The motion is in order. Mary, have any comments, please?
No, it's contractual. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago, and it's a requirement per the contract.
Thank you. Any other concerns or comments? Hearing none, this matter will be by roll call vote, and the vote will begin with Mr. Delicio, please.
Mr. Delicio.
Yes.
Ms. Hall.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Mrs. Parika.
Yes.
Vice President Denley.
Yes.
Ms. Agnew.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Mr. Cooper.
Yes.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
President Cook.
Yes,
11 yeas, 0 nays.
the motion passes.
Thank you. That concludes the business for Personnel and Human Services this evening. However, I would call for a committee meeting next week at the appropriate time. And if I could,
Yes.
Mr. President, I am expecting at least one guest for committee meetings next week, and likely a second. So I would like to go first if possible.
Okay. So, Mr. Owen, just to make sure you record that, the Personnel Committee will record. Does anybody else at this time know if they're gonna have any guests in?
No one for me.
All right. Okay. If you want, just in the next couple of days, if you let Mr. Owens know so we can arrange those committees to go first. But thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Jackson.
Thank you, President Cook.
You're welcome.
Reporting from Public Works, I have no business this evening to bring forth, but I would ask for a meeting at the appropriate time next week. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Councilor Blair.
Reporting for Public Safety Emergency Management, I have no business this evening, but would request a committee meeting next week at the appropriate time.
Thank you. There is one item of old business which actually I have, so hold on a second. At the, I think it was the last meeting that we had, there was a new business item that had been brought in by Councilor Conti regarding the oriented building permits and alterations therein in the TOD. What I'm going to do is, I'm also going to, that was referred to the Zoning and Land Use Committee, but I'm also, I just want to let everybody know, I'm also going to, I want that item brought to the attention of the Planning and Land Use Department, so we can get their input on this. So rather than having the committee go through and have to vote on it and then delay it a couple of weeks, so we can just keep moving on it, I just wanted to note that I was going to refer that matter over there, and that way, Ms. Hall and her committee can start to talk to them and get some input into it. Okay, so I just wanted to let everybody know that I was doing that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then we have one new business item, and I recognize Councilor Parika.
Oh, thank you very much, President Cook. From the docket of September 20th, 2016, I move to refer the following to the appropriate committee for study and recommendation, that the following items be accepted as a donation to the Office of the Municipal Council in accordance with Section 1-12 of the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro: 2 mainstay brand wall clocks with an estimated value of $5 each, in good working condition, brand new actually, and 4 Energizer AA batteries with an estimated value of $5.
Second.
Thank you. The motion is in order. Are there any comments, please?
Sure, thank you, President Cook again. I was out back to school shopping and I found a really good deal on some wall clocks for in here, because I think that a lot of us struggle with seeing the digital clock that's in the windowsill over there. And I get a lot of actual, when people are at home watching, it's actually a complaint that I've gotten a couple of times. So while I was back to school shopping with the kids, I picked up a couple of clocks. They're very tasteful. They're just simple and black, and I threw in the batteries to go with it. So.
Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Excuse me, Mr.
Yes.
I do have a comment. I can't let
Appropriate
it go.
comment.
It is appropriate because we can't get rid of this.
I'm not making the recommendation that we do.
Okay, because
It's an
Walter,
addition to.
I think Walter had something to do with it, and when I look at it, I think of him, so I don't want it to go. We can hang other ones, but
We need to make the
that
time
one's gotta
right.
stay.
Set the time right, though.
Right.
Yeah, the time seems to be, that's the official clock that we go by, and I know when I looked at it tonight, it was like, only got 3 minutes. So. That clock, by the way, since you mentioned Mr. Thibodeau, we placed, and it's probably instruction members in this Larry number, that might be it, that we had, that replaced a clock that used to be over there. Was anything was here too? That unless you were sitting in probably your chair, you couldn't, you had difficulty seeing it.
Yeah.
If you'd be able to see it. So that's where the digital clock came from, so.
Yeah.
So we can make other arrangements, I'm sure. We will put over there.
Can we
The
hang,
back.
can we hang anything, or does that need like,
We're gonna find out.
We'll find out. If I may just redirect, I would never want to get rid of the digital clock. However, it would- on occasion, it would be helpful, so thank you.
Any other questions or comments on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Was there an opposition? No. Oh, okay. I thought I saw a hand go up. Okay, the motion does pass. I'm gonna refer that to city property and claims, but with the understanding that you probably have to also touch base with the administration over things going on the laws in here. That's the only other thing. It's also the annex. A lot of the other parts are kind of beyond our control, so I'm refer to the city property and claims committee and the administration. Okay? So, that, believe it or not, does conclude the business for the city council for tonight. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Any motion to adjourn? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're fine. We're adjourned at 7:48. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the water again. You don't have to do that every Tuesday.
You won't have.